This summer, while working as a chaplain intern in the behavioral health unit of a hospital, I met and worked with a wonderful woman named Jenna. Jenna is a 58-year-old, devoutly Christian black woman struggling with schizoaffective disorder and bipolar disorder, who cares deeply about her family more than anything in the world. Aside from her diagnoses, Jenna struggles most with a feeling that she is disappointing her family because she's not able to be there for them, especially her son, who also struggles with bipolar disorder. The thing that has made meeting with her so special, though, was how hard she was working to get better. She came to groups, she met with her therapist, and she did every single thing that was asked of her. During our time together, she would talk to me about the things she was going through, her family, her faith, and all that was important to her. Even as my comfort with pastoral care grew throughout the summer, I still found myself asking the question, am I really capable of helping this person who's going through so much pain? Who am I to be able to comfort her through such a difficult part and period of her life? What's the best thing to say? What will bring her comfort? In this week's Parsha, Ki Tisa, Moshe and God come to each other in what I see as a moment of deep pastoral care. This interaction takes place after the heartbreaking moment of the golden calf and the smashing of the Ten Commandments. So much trust has been broken, and there is so much hurt and confusion all around. It seems that Moshe is really struggling at this moment, reeling and confused and trying to figure out what to make of this current situation, to know what to do as a leader of his flock after their greatest sin. And at this moment, he turns to God because even in Moshe's anger, Moshe knows the responsibility that's on his shoulders. He knows that he needs to be the leader that he was chosen to be and bridge the gap between God and the Israelites. Now, Moshe, at this current moment, comes to God in a more intimate, vulnerable way. Moshe says to God, "Look, you say to me, make these people move on, but you haven't let me know whom you'll be sending with me." Sforno, a 16th century commentator, points out, why is Moshe asking this of God if God, at the beginning of this chapter, said that God would send an angel with the people? What Moshe is really saying is, who will be there to protect us? We, your people, don't want an angel. We want you, God. We want you who will protect us and keep us safe. Moshe wants this reassurance that God isn't in fact leaving, but that in this time of despair, God is staying close to them. And to this, God reassures Moshe by saying, "Set your mind at rest. My presence will go with you." Along with his plea of God's presence to be with them, Moshe begs, "Now please, if it is really the case that I have found favor in your sight, show me your ways." Now that God has already promised that he will stay with the people, that God will stay with the people, Moshe has a need to try to make sense of everything that's going on. The Gemara in Brachot 7a expands upon this, about what it means, show me your ways. And the rabbis say, Moshe is asking to understand how God conducts himself in the world. More specifically, Moshe said before God, Master of the universe, why is it that righteous people suffer? Why is it that righteous people prosper? Why is it that wicked people prosper? And why is it that wicked people suffer? Moshe really is asking all of these hard questions right now. The ones we know that don't really ever have answers. And yet, we always ask them amidst our greatest suffering. And what does God answer? God answers with, "I will make my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim before you the name Lord, and the grace that I grant and the compassion that I will show. But you cannot see my face, for man may not see my face and live. Essentially, it's impossible for God to show Moshe God's full ways, the full answer to those questions that Moshe is seeking. God says, I see you, I understand your plea, but I cannot give you exactly what you're looking for. However, what God can provide is God's presence. And similarly, in a pastoral setting, what we give is presence. When I was meeting with Jenna, I did not have all the answers that she was seeking. I could not explain why this was happening to her or for any of the patients that I worked with this summer. I cannot explain any of the questions that only God knows the answers to. But what I can do is be with them and provide space for them to ask these questions and to sit with them in their uncertainty. When people ask these types of questions, it's usually when they are struggling the most and feel the most alone. After each session with Jenna and before her last day in the behavioral health unit, the appreciation she showed about our time together is why this work is so holy and powerful. And even though she knew I was of a different faith, she knew that I was there to be with her. And through the time and space that I was able to provide, our connection and trust only grew. And after Moshe's trust in God is now strengthened, Moshe calls out, Vayomer hareini na et kvodecha. Oh, let me behold your presence. But as we know, God cannot be fully seen or fully understood by Moshe. And God responds with, V'haya ba'avor kvodi, v'samticha v'nikrat atzur, v'sakoticha pi alecha ad avri. As my presence passes by, I will put you into a cleft of the rock and shield you with my hand until I have passed by. Now the metaphor here is God as a rock, which we see in a number of places in our liturgy. For example, Yul ratzon im refi vehegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goali. May the words of my mouth and the prayers of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. So what is this metaphor? God, our rock, strength and protection. But when Moshe wants God's promised presence, God must make a cleft in the rock for Moshe to be inside of. God, who also has a name of makom, place, creates a space and a place for Moshe to sit within God, for God to hold him. Now, for many of us, these pastoral moments will come regularly in more formalized settings. But we are all called and created to be there for others, to do our own holy work. When we think of caring for others, we often think of solutions and actions and tangible things that we could do. But here God is showing us that care is holding space. It is carving out room within ourselves and letting the other sit in our strength. We are those rocks for each other. When we show up for others, carved open, ready to truly hold what another is experiencing, we are following in God's pastoral footsteps. And the biggest lesson that I learned this summer from Jenna is that the most important thing that I was able to provide was just a space for her to take a step back, breathe, slow down her thoughts, and be in a safe and quiet space. There were many aspects of my time with her that will always stay with me, but it was our time praying together at the end of each meeting where I saw her faith, her hope, her dedication, and love that so deeply moved me. I will always remember when I held her hand in mine, when I held all that was weighing on her, that is what care truly is. And my prayer for all of us on the brink of this ending and beginning of my journeys is that we all find the strength and presence to be there for each other in our greatest moments of need. May we cleave open ourselves. Vesamticha v'nikrata tzur. Let others nestle in the cleft of our hearts, and let us truly be present. Before we conclude with Kaddish Rabbanan, I just want to thank you all for being here, everyone on Zoom, all my family and friends. Really kind of crazy that this is all here. I want to especially thank my parents, my brother. Thank you guys, love you. And just thank you to Rabbi Chef for helping me with my senior sermon and everything you've done for me and my family. And thank you just also to my cousin Alana for helping me with my senior sermon. So with that, we conclude with Kaddish Rabbanan. Yitkadal v'yitkadash merabah, be'alma divrach irutei, ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'yimeru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam umei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha brechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'yimeru. Amen. Al Yisrael v'al Rabbanan v'al Talmidei Hon v'al kol Talmidei Hon v'al kol man daskin v'oraita di v'atra hadei v'di v'chol atar v'yatar Yehei lohon u'lohon shlama rabba china v'chista v'rachamin v'chayin arichin u'mezona revicha u'for kana mikadam avuhon di v'shmaya v'yimeru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim tovim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav, hu barachamav yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen.